Hello everyone, my name is John Bussard. I'm an HPE Business Transformation Center engineer for Ingram Micro. I help support HPE servers, blade systems, storage, as well as Aruba networking technology solutions. In my videos, what I like to do is show you a slide from a popular PowerPoint and then demonstrate to you what that means within a management context. Today we're going to be continuing our discussion with HPE's GreenLake platform, and in particular we're going to be looking at the disaster recovery service. Disaster recovery is one of two business continuity solutions you'll see up within the GreenLake platform, where the other is the backup and recovery service. So the backup and recovery service acts like traditional backup software that you might sell on-prem, except this is cloud-based solution. So it allows you to be able to leverage array-based snapshots as a recovery points, or you could schedule backups going to a local repository or even up into the cloud. Where disaster recovery is different is this is journal-based replication of virtual machines, right? So your most critical applications you want to wrap around disaster recovery because they'll give you up to the moment copies of your data or protection points that you could recover your environment. So this is good for your most critical applications. Maybe in the case of a ransomware attack, you can actually roll back to the point in time in which you were infected and then bring up your virtual machine in an environment. Right. One of the nice things about these two solutions, they don't necessarily rely on HPE hardware. As long as you have a vCenter environment, you can leverage both of these solutions together. The one caveat with the backup and recovery service, in order to be able to use array-based snapshots as recovery ports, you do need to use an Electra-based solution. But beyond that, if you wanted to back up a third-party virtualization cluster to a local repository or to the cloud, you can do that with backup and recovery. Now, disaster recovery is completely unlimited. You could certainly, repurpose old hardware from another vendor, maybe to a secondary site, and then replicate your virtual machines to that secondary site using disaster recovery. So, with all that being said, let's explore this management console. Alright, so here we are up within the GreenLake platform. They changed the look just a little bit in the environment. They kind of changed these tiles, but it's still the same thing. We have the data services over here, which is all things related to storage. So I'm going to launch that. And here we can see the backup and recovery service over here. And here's the disaster recovery service. So let's go inside that. And we're landed on the dashboard where we get an overview of what's going on in the environment. So I don't have a lot happening right now. I've kind of got two vCenters managed in this environment. I've got one protection group. The way you want to look at a protection group, this is going to be a grouping of virtual machine that have a protection plan wrapped around. So, maybe an application stack, you want to create a protection group, related to that. And you can see I'm only protecting two virtual machines right now. But we get other information as well as some recommendations, right? 20% of virtual machines, right, should be used as far as disaster recovery. So again, this goes back to the point that this should be used for really your most business critical applications in your environment. And we can see our virtual manager connectivity, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Now, what I plan to do is start off kind of simple, and then we're going to expand out. So I'm going to do a test failover from this Electra DHCI based solution, and we're looking at these virtual machines right here. So I'm going to do a test failover from this all the way on over into this Nimble based DHCI solution. All right, and right now I have this virtual machine in that protection plan. So if I open this up, why don't we log in? All right, let's create a new folder. We'll just call this important. All right, just so we can see some new data that's being created. And I'll go down here and we'll open up this Windows machine. We'll do the same thing. And we'll say that all your important files exist in there. And again, I want to talk to the up to the moment type of replication, because even though I just created these files, they will be protected at the secondary site pretty quickly. Let's go back on over into our disaster recovery solution here, and let's go take a look at the protection group that has these two virtual machines in it. So I go over here, I go down to protection group. We can see it's created. We can see the two virtual machines. We can see it's meeting SLA. So what I am going to do is we're going to put the check mark here, and I'll click failover test. All right, so now we can see the moments in time in which we could recover from. Right, so about every 5 seconds we're getting a point in time we could recover from. I'm just going to do latest checkpoint. I'm going to click next. So let me know I'm going to go from the Electra solution to the Nimble solution. Then we're going to start our failover test. Over here we get a notification as far as what the process is or where we are in the process. All right, we're ready to roll. I can click this button to stop this test. But now if I go look at the Nimble-based DHCI solution, we could see these two virtual machines exist for testing our recovery. Now I'm going to get a quick message about these machines that we shouldn't play with them, but it's okay for what we're doing here. Log in real quick. And we can see that important folder is created. All right, that's a secondary site. Let's look at the Windows one as well. I'll log in over here. And we can see that folder is over here as well as the crash consistent message, which is typical. But this kind of speaks to up to the moment copies of data. I made those changes while we were kind of talking here, and they do show up at the secondary site. Now if I want to stop this test, I'll just click this button, right, and we'll stop this failover. All right, so let's go on to the next step. How was this protection group created? All right, so we're going to go back through, and this time we're going to protect this Ubuntu 2 system as well as this Windows 2 system. We're going to create a protection group wrapped around those two. So again, we'll go over here in our protection group still. I'm going to click the plus sign. And we'll just name this, protection group 2. We're going to select the Electra as our protected virtual appliance, and then our recovery virtual appliance. So we'll talk a little bit more about these virtual appliances. We'll actually have one deployed in our environment. I'm going to click next. All right, let's go find our virtual machines that we want to add. So we're going to grab this one with the 2 on the end as well as this one. We'll add that to our protection group. And these are just the virtual machines that are within this environment. I'll click next. We're going to select our host that we want to bring it on. I actually want to bring it on the cluster so it can pick and choose where it wants to go. And as far as data store, we'll use this one. And I could choose what I want to use for failover network. So if I'm failing over live, and I don't know, why don't we do 85, and then failover test. So this is good if we're doing a test failover. Maybe you think we have a ransomware attack. You certainly wouldn't want to bring that up on a production network. So maybe you have an isolated network that you want to place that on. But for my case, we're just showing you something. So I'm going to leave them on the same VLAN, and then what folder inside VMware do I want to place them in. That'll be fine for our procedures. So I'll click next. We get a summary, and then I'll click done. And we can see our protection group is being created right here. In a little bit, we'll see it will be syncing its data. There we go. We can see it syncing its data. And we'll come back maybe a little bit later, and we'll do maybe a live failover with that. So that's great. So that's how you create a protection group. So how do I set up another site within our environment? Well, why don't I bring up our SimpliVity environment. You log into this. All right, so I have a SimpliVity environment. We're going to bring this system on up. Is you'd go over here, and then you'd go down to vCenter, and you'll see VMAs. So these are virtual management appliances. So let me select that. You can see I have 2. I have one deployed on the Electra-based DHCI solution. I have another one on the Nimble-based DHCI solution. So the process that you'd go through to deploy one of these VMAs is you select Download Manager, and you click Download Package. And the package will come down as a zip, and you'll need to decompress that zip within your environment. Now for speed, I've already downloaded this and I've unzipped it. It will be an OVF, right? And you'll need to deploy that OVF within your environment. So I'll go over to my SimpliVity environment. I'll select my cluster. I'll right click, deploy OVF, right? Local file, upload files, and there will be the OVF. Again, that's where I unzipped that, right? And I click open. Now I'm not going to go through this all the way. If you've done OVFs before, this will look very familiar. I do already have this deployed, so I'm going to just add a 0 on the end of that. We're going to click next. All right, next again. All right, but again, if you've deployed OVAs, there shouldn't be any craziness that's kind of happening on here. It should be pretty typical. We'll click next again. We'll select our data store. We'll just use that one. All right, we'll select our network. Whatever network you select, you want to make sure it has connectivity to the cloud. Click next again, and then I would click finish. All right, but I'm not going to do that because I certainly do already have this deployed within our environment, and it's actually up and running right now. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to get its IP address, and certainly you can nail down this IP address through the console or through DHCP if you wanted to do it that way as well. But what you'll do is you'll just take and you copy that into a web browser. It'll come up. And again, we start to see the Zerto thing. So this should look very familiar if you've deployed Zerto before. The default username and password will be admin. And because that's insecure, we'll need to change that password right away. Right. And then again, we got a very Zerto look and feel to deploying this VMA. So the first thing we're going to need is the host name. So we're going to do this vCenter system. So this will marry the appliance with the vCenter environment. And then you want to give it a username to log in. That user's password. And then you click configure. Now some of this takes a little bit of time. That's why I keep the time down below. I'm going to fast forward this, from time to time. But if you want to get an actual representation of time, take a look down in the corner here. Right. Before we launch this, what we actually want to do is go down and enable the GreenLake agent. All right, and then we want to grab this serial number, and then we want to bring it up into the disaster recovery service under virtual manager appliance, and we're going to click add. I'm going to drop in that serial number, and we're going to click add. Now it's going to come up as an unconfigured site, or as a site without a name over here. We're going to want to go correct that in a little bit. Right? But if we go over here, and now we launch the VC, you'll see it brings us over here, and it says install the VRAs to enable replication. Right, we see some tasks running over here. Right now it's pairing the two sites that it sees up within the cloud. So if I go back over here, we'll see it says unconfigured site name. So let me show you how to fix that real quick. If I go over here, go to site settings, you can see that's the same verbiage. So I'll just change that to SimpliVity. And I'll click save. Right, and then we will see that will get changed in a little bit. It hasn't changed yet, but it certainly will. All right, so one of the things we need to install the VRAs. So let's talk a little bit about that. All right, so let's take a look at my Electra-based solution, and we'll go down and we'll see there's that Zerto Virtual Machine Manager. With that, you're going to get virtual replication adapters, and you'll get one per host, and then you'll get these helpers as you kind of replicate. But we do need to deploy these VRAs, as these virtual replication adapters, within the environment. All right, so let's go back up here. We can see the name has changed. All right, let's go back to our or VMA, and you can see if I click on this, it'll bring me over to the same page, but it'll bring me up the context to be able to do this. So let's select our cluster, our SimpliVity cluster. I'm going to select our data store to place these. We'll do data store 1. We'll select our network. I'm going to do VLAN 80. And then we will do, you can give individual IP addresses. I like to do a pool. We'll go from, there's only 2 of these, so my pool will be relatively small. That'll be my subnet mask, and that will be my gateway. And then I'll click install. You can see it's going to install on both of these hosts. And again, this will take a little time. Keep your eye on the time down here. Okay, we can see both of our VRAs installed. So this site will be set up right now. So we can see the VMA and the VRAs are ready to roll. So now we can start creating protection groups with this site. So let's go back over to our protection groups. All right, let's add a new one. And we'll call this protection group 3. All right, again, we'll go from the Electra, and this time we'll select the SimpliVity site. Click next. All right, and this time I'll take the last 2 machines that I had in that grouping. I'll add those in. Click next. Again, the same things. We're going to select our host, and what data store we want to recover on, and which networks we want to leverage. Then we'll click done. And that's it. We can already see that our other setup over here for the second group that we created is already replicated to the secondary site. So we can actually test the failover of that. So why don't we do a failover live? And this time we'll take some point in time. Why don't we grab this one? We'll click next, and we'll start this failover live. All right, and we can see our actions. We get to commit those changes, or we get to roll back them if we want to in the environment. And then if we go look at our DHCI environment, there they are. There's GreenLake Disaster Recovery 2. There's the one for Windows as well. Again, you notice it doesn't have the test on the end, right? But those are our 2 virtual machines. And then we could go back here and we could roll this back if we felt like it. Right? And we get this health status because we're no longer replicating between sites, right? Because we're failing this over live. So that's the GreenLake Disaster Recovery Service. If you think about it, even though I fast forwarded it, a little bit during this, we completed quite a bit with this in this environment. We tested a failover. We actually created some new protection groups, and we even brought up a new site with this environment. It was very simple, very easy process to do, and it unifies our management up here, for business continuity within the GreenLake platform. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and please stay tuned for more videos.